the only way to start your day.
Because necessary for us to do along the line. And our two guests are here. Mercy Koini is the Program Officer, Gender Equity and Social Inclusion at Forum CIV. She'll tell us what CIV is in a minute. And Penina Ndegwa is the Founder and Managing Director of Wow Mom. Wow Mom. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Karibu Sana.
Thank you.
Thank you for being in the Situation Room this morning. Well, you know, you're our guest, but we're going to put you to work.
Sure.
Okay. Dennis will tell you which country he's gone to this week. And we would love to get your interpretation of the proverb from that country. All right? Okay.
So it's a custom in this room to welcome guests with a proverb from an African country. And today we are coming from West Africa, the Republic of Senegal. And the interpretation to this proverb, it's a very simple proverb. So I'm going to start with you, Penina. He who stays long in the river does not notice its coldness. He who stays long in the river does not notice its coldness. How would you interpret that?
Yeah, because the moment, if you're not changing your situations, then you get used to it. And so there's no adaptability. You just get used to it, and that becomes your norm. And you may not even know there's warm water elsewhere. So there's need to shift and change
Environment.
environment, yes.
Spot on. Mercy.
Yeah, I tend to agree that once you are in a situation for a very long time, you see it as normal and you don't know what is outside that river. So the cold river is what you're used to and you don't know what's happening out there. So it talks about adaptability and resilience to the situation that you're in. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there it is. Adaptability. What was the other word you used?
Resilience.
Resilience. Spoken like a true NGO person. But, you know, these things are real things that we see. So thank you both for being here this morning. Even as we heard those interpretations, those are great. We're talking today about reimagining care work. And of course, we talked about it earlier and today we think about care work and it's, you know, we'd like to hear from you lest we give it its own definition completely. And then why it is important for us to do so. Let's start off with you, Mercy. When we're looking into reimagining care work, let's start with care work as itself in the beginning. What is care work? And let's look at its importance before we come to you, Mercy. Penina.
Yeah, thank you. I think and I believe that care work is very essential to our economy. And when it comes to addressing the issues of gender inequalities, care work is very critical because when we are talking about care work, we are talking about issues of household care, we are talking about elderly care, we are talking about child care. And these are the things that we get to deal with on a daily basis. For all of us to be here, there must be somebody that is taking care of our responsibilities at our household level and also taking care of our children. So it's very important that we start to reimagining care work and to see how we are able to recognize it and redistribute it. Yeah, that's why we are having this conversation.
Okay, and so Penina, who falls into the care work category?
Everybody falls.
Okay.
Because everybody needs care and everybody can also give care.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the situation is that women bear the most burden when it comes to unpaid care work. Because when you look at most of the domestic workers, most of them are women, compared very few are men. And out of research that has been done is that women actually can spend up to 5 hours per day on unpaid care, compared to men who only spend 1 hour per day. That already shows the kind of burden. And also, the care work has also been undervalued and unrecognized because it remains invisible. It's like this iceberg that is under the ocean, which really supports in every other economy to work. Like Mercy rightfully said, when we are here to work, is because somebody else is taking care of our house, somebody else is taking care of our aging parents, somebody is taking care of our cows, somebody is taking care of our persons with disability and people with chronic illnesses. So for us to be able to work, that iceberg is really what supports the economy that we see.
Right.
And it's time that we start valuing it and giving it the attention that it deserves.
So where does unpaid care work come into all of this? Because one would assume if I'm here, I'm working, somebody is in my home taking care of issues that I can't attend to at that time, but they're being paid.
Yes.
And so when we say that people spend up to 5 hours in a day engaging in unpaid care work, who's this person? And how does that come about?
All of us. I would say all of us. Because if you look at how many hours you commit to this show, there's how much you're paid per day. But how much are you paid to wash your dishes in your household? It's not because you shouldn't do it, because it's your responsibility. But then we realize that sometimes, and in most situations, women often, especially young women in their younger career life, I've seen a lot of them even quit their jobs because they have to take care of their children. Who compensates them for that, right? We've seen even in the villages, or maybe you have an aging parent who will fail to go to work because they have to take care of that aging parent. And also, or something else that you also realize is that even if they are being paid, the level of payment is also low, as opposed to regular jobs. So that's why it's so important to recognize that care work is work, and it ought to be rewarded appropriately.
Okay. So here's an interesting question. By whom? Who should this unpaid care work be rewarded by?
I want to take you to the rural regions.
Okay.
Because we are privileged, because we are having jobs and we are able to employ a caregiver at our household level.
Yeah.
But there are rural women that are unable to pay the caregivers at their household level, so they have to take that responsibility. Or alternatively, they take the responsibility to their marketplaces where they're doing their businesses. For example, in a rural place, a woman would carry their child to a market. And he or she will try to balance taking care of the child as well as doing the business that has taken her to the market. So at the end of the day, this woman might not be able to pay a caregiver at home.
Yes.
So she will have to balance that responsibility by self. So it is even different for the rural region and also for the urban region. We see the rural women taking more burden of unpaid care work and balancing it with paid care work. So generally, we have to see how to ensure that we cushion these women, but making facilities that are friendly to them, and they are able to, probably if they're going to the market, they're able to have a facility where they can have the child being taken care of and they can be able to do their businesses. Those are the situations that we are looking at. If a girl wants to probably join a vocational training center, and you realize that in the rural regions, most of these girls, they get pregnant at a very early age, and they bear the burden of taking care of their child. So, and this limits them to going to either a vocational training center to gain a skill. So they try, we are looking at how we can be able to have the government having facilities in place that would cushion or reduce the burden of the rural population within the counties that we are in. Yeah.
So how would that equate to compensation? Because usually when we think about compensation, we think about it in a monetary fashion. So would a facility where it makes it easier for somebody to take care of my child if I cannot pay for somebody to do so in the rural setting, if I'm selling in the market, or if I'm transporting goods, or if I'm cleaning house, washing, if there's a facility that took care of my child when I'm not able to do that, would that equate to compensation?
Yes, and also redistribution of roles and responsibilities. So let me speak from our mom's experience. One of the projects that we do, we provide quality and affordable childcare services in the market centers, Gikomba, Moriro, and we partner with county governments to establish the centers within the market centers. Okay. And a market in Kajiado is so similar to even a market in Nairobi. The volumes may vary, but the situation is very similar. So what happened, one time I went to Gikomba market, and I found, we were going to just provide something we call baby changing station, just a place to dignify caregivers while they're changing their children's diapers. And so we found that when the government was constructing markets, there was like one tiny room, 2 meters by 1.8, where on every floor, it's a 6-story building, very big market, very busy with over 1,000 vendors. Majority of actually 80% were women and young women of productive age. So in that tiny room, you'll find children laying on carton boxes. Because Gekomba, in the market centers, women have to wake up very early, go to work, and do their businesses. And for me, I was very concerned because I would see children roaming around. Others are sleeping on mtuba belts, others next to a sewing machine. Like, it was so chaotic. And I remember asking the women, why do you have to bring your children to work every day? And they would say that they cannot afford another alternative care. Or even if they can afford that local daycare, in terms of the quality of service provided, it's so undignified that the little money they make in the market centers, they end up spending it in hospitals. So for us, it was a wake-up call, because what happens when this woman is busy working and selling her goods, the baby has already disappeared. We've had a lot of incidences where where children have been abducted. They've been exposed to illegal things, immoral things, unethical things, because the mother is not able to mentally focus on the child supervision while taking care of the business. At the same time, the time that this woman takes to look for the child to change, to feed, she has lost a customer. So out of our research, we actually found out that if I have a baby and Mercy does not have a baby, I'll make 48% less profit than her, even if you're making, we are selling the same goods on the same floor. What does that indicate? There's a lot of revenue leakage when care is not provided for. What then was our solution? We went back to the government, requested them, could we just refurbish this space? And we came up with a partnership with the county government of Nairobi. And now we've established what I like to call them world-class childcare services in the market centers. And there the mothers can come. We open every day. Right now they're open. We open every day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Those are 12 hours of quality care. We only charge 100 shillings per day. So a woman conveniently drops the child in the daycare and then goes to work the whole day. And they're safe. They're in a very good environment. You have trained caregivers who are able to take care of them. And one of the impact that we've realized is that a woman is able to increase their productivity by up to 75%. So that just shows you, in terms of care, when you talk about affordability, when you take off that burden from the woman, they are able to now focus and make more resources, and then they can even afford that childcare.
Mercy, it's interesting. She's given the example of Gikomba, and I'm just thinking, a lot of then what we see goes around informal spaces. Gikomba is just an example. That market just gives an overview of essentially what happens when this woman goes to work with her child or children, and she's trying to eke out a living. How, in terms of just expanding this conversation, when we look at the informal sector, how does this tie in? Because you earlier talked about reimagining care. How does this then work? Because every space is unique in its own way.
Maybe just to mention, we are currently developing a project on market systems development together with the International Labour Organization, and we have mapped out 2 sectors that we will be looking at, and that is the tourism sector and the fodder sector. Because we will be working in Kajiado, Narok, and Nakuru County. And you realize that tourism is booming in these 3 counties. And also in Narok and Kajiado, we have the livestock rearing, which accounts to the need for fodder. So having selected this sector, we did an analysis and realized that youth and women are not participating in these sectors because of the issues of care work. And just like you mentioned about the informal sector, the fodder sector is generally informal. And when you look at the issues that hinder women and youth from participating in this sector, is because they do not have the finances, because they don't have an income. And they don't have an income because they have no sources of income, because most of their responsibility is either at household level, which does not earn them any money. So for them to participate either in the fodder sector, producing fodder, it's very difficult. So we are looking at generally the whole holistically. Why is it that women and youth are not participating in income generating or are not part of the market? And we are seeing that this responsibility needs to be looked at. And we are looking at holistically in terms of how can we reduce. It's not only compensation. We are looking at how can we reduce it by having facilities that are friendly. We're talking about infrastructure. Can a woman who is pregnant go 20 kilometers to a marketplace taking their produce with the kind of terrains and roads that we are having? Do we have better roads for them to travel? We are talking about issues of water in the marginalized regions because water is a big issue. How long does a woman take to go and fetch water? It would probably take that woman 6 hours going to fetch water to and fro. So to mean that woman, when the child has already gone to school, or probably she's carrying the child on her back and she goes fetch water. If we're able to have facilities such as water that is accessible, then to me it has reduced the time that this woman spends in water and they're able either to till their farm, get produce, take it to the market. We are talking about recognition. Do we have policies in place? But I'm happy that the government is initiating the national care policy, which will basically address such kind of issues we are talking about here today. So when we have policies that cushion these marginalized groups within the community to be able to take up economically generating initiative, then we are able to see the economy of our counties and also the national government economy rising up, and we are able to account also. And when we are talking about recognition, we are also seeing how can the national systems account for such unpaid care work. Like Penina had mentioned, we are only seeing the paid. That's what we are counting. But how much of work is being done underneath that is not being accounted in our GDP? And the national care policy will come in and address such, and we'll be able to see the value of it, and the government is able to invest in facilities that cushions.
Penina,
Yeah.
you earlier talked about, these partnerships and conversations with, for example, Nairobi County, with what happened in Kikomba. I'm going to use this example. I visited a county. It's in a marginalized place.
Yeah.
And I saw what Mercy is describing, women walking long distances to just get water.
Yeah.
And I was not even allowed to interview the women because the men there believe it's the men who speak on behalf of the community.
Yeah.
How then do you tear the walls of culture when you're then trying to create this environment for these same women who are in a space, and when we were talking about the proverb, you're in a space where all you know is how you've grown and everything around you. So when you're introducing something new, this awareness, how difficult is it to tear those walls?
Yeah, cultural norms is one of the key barriers towards realizing gender equality. And this is because we are accustomed to that. I'm sure if you ask most women, even when a child gets sick, leave alone even in the those local communities, even in urban areas, when a child gets sick, it's mostly the woman who will not go to work. And, it's the woman who will miss work and take the child to the hospital. The husband continues. Majority. So one of the things that we need to do is recognize that for sure there's a challenge and we need to change. So one way is doing a lot of advocacy and sensitization. We have to let them know that, you know what, your wife is actually bearing more burden. By taking care of this household, by fetching water, going to get firewood, taking care of the children, cooking the meals. What if somebody else is able to support? Or how can you even come in even as a spouse? In care we talk about 5 R's, and one of the 5 R is redistribution of care. So one of the things is thinking within your household who can bear a certain burden. So for example, can you at least help feed the cows while I prepare meals? Or how can you drop the children to school where maybe I'm cleaning the house? And I'll just give a recent example. My nanny had gone on leave like 2 weeks ago, and it was the hardest time of my life. And, getting a day bag sometimes is also very difficult if you're not used to one. And I remember just us and my husband just sharing roles. We have kids, they have to go to school. I somehow still have to get some work done because you cannot fully postpone everything. Just him coming and just helping with the kids with the homework. He does that, of course, a lot of time. But now, this time I needed more support because then he's, I don't have somebody else preparing the meals. So it's a matter of advocating, showing examples. Let's see more Dennis or Carries showing what they're doing and supporting their spouses at home.
I actually did that last week as well.
Yeah. Should have checked.
Yeah. I stayed 3 days. I changed diapers.
Yeah.
I watch the kid. I feed.
Let's
cook.
normalize it. It's not unusual. It's really our children we're taking care of. It's our household we're taking care of. So the moment you start preaching that gospel of, you know what, just because you're changing diapers does not make you less of a man.
True.
Yeah.
We'll come back from this break and look into the 5 R's and see what those actually mean for us to have an understanding of them, and then look into what we've already given an example of one county government is maybe doing something to expand its policy approach. What is everybody else doing, and what are the plans for something like that to happen? We'll continue. Mercy Koini and Penina Ndegwa, our guests this hour, we're looking into improved care, paid work, in some cases unpaid work. So we'll continue with that when we come back from this break. And just for you to remember that wealth isn't just about what you earn or invest, it's what you pass on. And for many high net worth individuals, legacy and values.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sasa mama anaenda Saudi Arabia bila mimi.
Ngoja, tumesema mama alimachwa.
Zima up.
Ati?
Zima up.
Kwa nini?
Una watoto.
Kuna mtoto mmoja that I know.
So inaonekana kwamba good in that sector.
We, boss, unataka nini?
Mbona umezima simu?
Client alikuwa ameniambia nizime.
Ya nikuulize. Ni uhusiano gani ambao tuweza hata kuonana? Wewe kazi yako hapa ni kutoka mapema na kurudi usiku.
We know that we are not perfect as a country. We know that we still have a long way to go in all spheres of life. There are still reforms that we must implement. One of them is the police reforms. And we are not supporting police excesses. But if there is a problem with the police and that has been investigated, there is killing and it has been investigated, the culprits are already arrested. They are already charged in court and being prosecuted. What else do you want the government to do?
I make Monday count by reading Health and Science. It helps me eat healthy, live healthy, and stay healthy.
Setting the standard every day of the week. The Standard, Kenya's bold newspaper.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Akili, akili. This book is called Are You the Pilot? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Meet number 11. Papa, I'm ahead of you. Kimasomo, tuko rada.
In a city of passing lights, some people are just meant to be. It's how we fall in love and keep on chasing on. The there's no place I'd rather be. Yeah.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
That we are talking about. When it comes to recognition, issues of policy are very essential. That we have policies that cushion either of the genders when it comes to their livelihood. Mm-hmm. Because when we're talking about taking a loan, I hear you saying taking a loan. When a woman has not been engaging in any economic activity, how do you see, how would this woman be able to take a loan facility? Because they have no collateral. Yeah, so they have no land, they have no facility to give out as collateral. So them accessing a loan is very difficult. And these are the things that we are looking at, even when we are trying to develop our market systems. We are looking at how we can be able to have more women engaging in income-generating activities, and they're able to have collateral and facilities that can earn them something. When we are talking about redistribution, which is the most difficult because it takes a lot of time, because there's a cultural mindset and cultural norms that we need to address. How women and men can be able to distribute their household responsibility. Who says that a man is the one who's supposed to be the breadwinner in the house? Who says that? So we need to see how a woman can also come in and be the breadwinner in the house when he's not able to access an employment. This work can be distributed. A woman can go to the market, a woman can get employed and be able to contribute to the household income. A woman can be able to go to a vocational training center or even a university and gain skill. So those are the things that we are talking about. How can we be able to redistribute some of these household responsibility? We are having a challenge with women participation and girls' participation in government development processes. We are calling women to come for a public participation where there will be financing of projects within the community, but they're not showing up. And when they show up, they had no prior information. So when they come there, they have stress because they need to go back home early, and probably the public participation process has started late. They are not even mentally well to contribute to the conversation because they are thinking about going back home and thinking about their child. So when we're talking about public participation, are they even prepared? Are they even able to contribute? Because do they have prior information about what some of these women, when they even come to the meetings, they're not even sure what they came there to do. They were just told, wanawake wanaitwa kwa mkutano. Women are being called for a meeting. You need to go there. But they did not have prior information. So even them contributing to the conversation is very difficult. So we need to see the government seeing some of these gaps and how it's affecting the economy of the counties or even the national. So we need to see how we are going to redistribute some of this household responsibility and allow men to take household responsibility, and women as well can go to income-generating activities.
You know, there's that traditional way we were all brought up, where it is our father who's going to work, comes home in the evening with bread, nakanyama, and some shopping, pays school fees, takes care of all the medical bills. And at the time, our mothers were housewives. They will stay at home, take care of the kids, make sure they're prepared to go to school. And that, in the cultural sense, then would mean redistribution of our responsibilities. If somebody argues, then what's wrong with that? Why can't the woman then stay, take care of the kids, while I go look for money to pay all the bills and do everything? All she needs to do is just take care of the kids, because both can't do it. How do you then reimagine that for somebody who comes with that school of thought and says, look, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, the issue is, it's expanding the gender inequality.
Okay.
And also the cost of living now is not the same as years back. The cost of living has risen so high that we need all the man and the woman getting into employment.
So it's forcing the mother who still stays with the kids to also go out, look for money.
Yeah, and women are also more educated than before. We have to acknowledge that. And also, I keep saying, and why I even started WOW those days, is the fact that I almost felt like I want to quit my job because I felt, this caregiving responsibility needs me, and I had an idea in my head that I had to be full-time present at home and at work, and it's completely impossible. So while the men it's good to acknowledge they're paying for it, but what if they also paid and they still allowed the woman to also seek more alternative opportunities, whether it's a business or even that employment or even employment? The family would even do better. The thing is also for women to also, from our research actually, we found out that most women take caregiving responsibilities as a badge of honor. That if I don't take care of my household, I am not a good enough woman. So also women also need to start learning to let go some of those responsibilities. Know that you can pay somebody and even go out there, make more money, and pay for that service. In fact, one of my mentors tells me, if it's something that you can pay for, less, do it. If you don't have to take 5 hours doing laundry, while I could do a proposal that could potentially pay me for like 3 months. Why not? So it's a matter of, fine, let the men pay, but also let the woman also get the opportunity.
And let it be recognized.
Yeah.
Let it be recognized and valued.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be seen as normal. We want it to be recognized that I'm actually taking care of the child from morning to evening. And taking care of their household responsibilities. It needs to be valued.
What would that recognition look like? For it to say that it is acknowledged that, this is interesting because there was a ruling a few years ago that came from the Kenyan courts, which talked about the fact that when a particular couple, unfortunately, was splitting up, that the judge now said it would be recognized that this woman, for the longest period, also contributed to the property by virtue of the fact that she stayed home and took care of the children and cooked and cleaned and all of these things. The judge said, we take this into consideration, and because of that, there will be a sharing of property. Now, that's in the courts. That's when you get to an extreme case where it has to come before a judge. How do you recognize? What does that recognition look like when it's not in a controlled space like the judicial process?
I talked about the issue of policy, and I'm really happy that we are making progress. We are now having the national care policy that is being spearheaded by the State Department of Gender and Affirmative Action together with you and women, and we are pushing for the implementation, for the adoption of the national care policy. Once that is in place, then it will be put into law, and we won't have cases going to the courts for it to be ruled, but it will be backed with a law. So we are talking about issues of policy. And also, when you talk about reduction, that's another R. We are talking about issues of facility and investing on care work. Because when we are having these markets that are being established, and the president is currently doing a lot of modern markets in the county, at county level, and we want to see how are these market spaces being distributed? Do we have facilities that are being put in place for the child care centers, or even to cushion the women to participate in the market? So these are the things that we are looking at. How are the government investing in facilities that cushion the women from their care work?
Okay.
Yeah.
So also then to you, Penina, is that Mercy gave example, said, okay, in the rural areas, it's tough. Outside of where there's hustle and bustle of the city. And then you give you examples of things that are happening in Nairobi, in market centers. How do we then say that there is improvement in other parts of the country as well? Because folks will be saying, okay, well, I wish I could. I wish I could actually go to market where there is no road, but I have my child that I need to take care of and they're not in school. Do we see this kind of activity, engagement happening in other parts of the country apart from Nairobi?
Definitely, because that's why advocacy comes in, and there's that informality. Sometimes it's me leaving my child with my grandmother because she's around and she's old but still capable of maybe supervising my child. There are all those informal sort of setups, but doesn't mean that we do not need more support. The other challenge again when it comes to rural areas is the communities are sparsely populated. So even if you set up like a center in a place where women have to commute longer to take a child, then come back home and do work or go to the market or do the fodder like Mercy was talking about earlier, that's still unpaid work, because then if you have to waste an hour dropping a child to a center, that already is not reducing your unpaid care burden. So we have to think of ways in which we come up with solutions that work for particular communities. And what works in an urban setup does not necessarily work in a rural setup. I think there's even a question that Dennis had asked Mercy earlier regarding that most of the solutions are in the informal setup, which is true. That's why you see, even if you go to the slums, you have a lot of those small sort of daycare service centers provided by the local community. But also even in the formal areas, like in the tourism sector, we also realize that most women are not even getting employed because they're in conservancies which are way far away from their homes. So what do they do if they have to, work and they're not able to get a job because they cannot be able to stay overnight? So what then can such a conservancy do? Maybe having an on-site facility that is able to take care of some of those care responsibilities would be very effective. And even in where we are right now in the Standard Group building, if your nanny disappeared in the morning, which they do, and would you miss your show in the morning? How can you be able to have a place that, at least within that particular environment, you're able to take care of it? So in summary, solutions have to be localized. There's no copy pasting. And I want to tell you from experience of implementing childcare centers, what you've done in Morero is not what you've done in Gekomba Market, because communities are different, their needs are different. So we have to go down to the ground, understand the needs of those communities, and come up with solutions that work. If you go to the border communities again, that's a different niche. And women's needs are different. It could be that maybe they even need like overnight stays because they have to travel to Uganda for a couple of days and come back. So maybe even the way you're running that center is different from the way you would run it in a regular market scenario. So there has to be solutions have to be localized. But what's important is ensuring that they are quality and accessible to communities.
I mean, Penina, you've talked about quality. Let's address another elephant in the room. And this is the conversation. We've all watched videos of wicked nannies. And what they do to children. We've also lately been having this conversation around predators and children and child abuse. In the same breath, when you're talking about daycare centers, so these mothers are coming, they have a safe space. So we earlier talked about infrastructure. So you have infrastructure, then a mother can drop their child, go to the market, do the business. How then do you also guarantee safety? Because this has lately become a growing concern that I want to look at my child as I'm doing my business, but I'm not sure whether I can trust a stranger in a market place to handle this child or even children for that matter.
There has to be professionalism. Let me speak for Wow Mom, because I know we are very thorough when it comes to onboarding children. We're in Nairobi. Nairobi is not like in a village where that is Dennis Okari's child, that is Ntuko's child. They come, and we're in CBD, OTC downtown, when people come from all over the city. We even have people who come for conferences, and they drop their children in the daycare, they go for conferences and come pick their children in the evening. We have those cases. Others are coming for market days in Gekomba, and they want to drop their children, go do their shopping. So we have systems. You have to come up with systems, both for safeguarding the child and also the child and even the parent and even your employees. So when it comes to recruiting caregivers, there has to be a very thorough scrutiny. You have to know whether they have criminal records, mostly work with referrals because they either have worked together, they know each other I personally I even know where my caregivers come from. I go visit. I know where they come from.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that they have experience, they have been trained. And beyond that, we also have to offer them additional training on nurturing care. We train them on child protection policies and all that. Because then you de-risk your organization, yourself, and make sure that the children are safe. When it comes to admission of the children, we just don't admit. In fact, I keep saying, if we were open, we have an open door policy somehow, because anyone can bring in their child. But if we have systems that make sure that before you drop in your child, you have to come with your national ID. We have to prove that that's your child. How do we make sure that that child is not abducted, right? So it's a matter of coming up with systems that protect yourself, the child, and the caregiver. So it's a whole system that I may not disclose everything, but those are some of the things that make sure that we are safe, and constantly training your caregivers on child protection policies.
So there's a question for Mercy, but it's going to start with you, Penina. Give or take, how many children on a daily basis are being dropped off for this care?
Between 20 to 30.
In one center or across board?
In Morera is the biggest. Gikomba, because of the space limitation, we only do a maximum of 10.
Okay.
The space is, for us, it's about quality. For Gikomba, for Morera, because the space is big, we have, again, they vary. Daycare is not like a school where I know
everybody will come every day.
That's the other challenge. But especially like right now that it's cold, some parents just choose to stay home with their children. Like during school holidays, you get even older kids. So it varies. Also, depending on the time of the day, in the afternoon, you'll get even bigger kids with school drop-off. So it really varies.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, looking at that need obviously exists, right? And looking at it then from a policy level with partnerships with government, would this be something that government would look at more broadly and say, okay, or do we say that the partnerships exist because government is not able to fill that gap, or maybe is not aware the extent to which it is a need? And looking then into the future where something bigger could be done, is it a model then that can be replicated by government with partners on a larger scale?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the conversation we are putting on the table right now with the various partners that we are working with at the county and also at the national level. We are bringing the private sector on board. Because in the tourism sector, you see that most of the investments are done by the private entities, and we are bringing them on board to be able to see the need and the importance of integrating the issues of care work within the facilities that they are establishing. And also for them to invest, because when an investor comes in and says, okay, the government has given us a very good modern market, we can come in and support a very nice a childcare facility within that center, and it can be very. It can be in terms of rating. It can be cushioned in terms of the amount of money that a woman can pay for it. So I think, like Penina mentioned, the conversation needs to happen. The solutions need to be localized, where there is engagement of all the relevant entities that are within the locality. So I believe that partnership would really address such challenges, and also change of mindset of the communities. Because I realize that some communities feel like, okay, if I am to give the responsibility of my taking care of my child to somebody else, it may not look well with me. So also that mindset needs to be changed. So there's a lot of community engagement that we are doing as Forum Civ to see how we can bring people on board and have these conversations and having investments that are responding to care. Yes.
Mercy, on the 5 R's framework that you earlier spoke about, I'm curious to find out, because there's, you said recognition?
There's recognition.
The second one was which one?
Reduction.
Reduction, redistribution.
Yes.
The fourth one was
reward
and representation. You look at our current, the way we are cultured in Kenya with these 5 R's, where would you say Kenya is struggling the most, and why?
I would say reduction, because of the kind of investments that are being put in place.
Okay.
For example, at county level, you see we are still struggling with an infrastructure, which is very critical for us to help women to participate more in the economic activities. So infrastructure is still a very big issue. Access to water, poor roads, our facilities are not responsive to the gender needs. So there's quite a lot of work that needs to be done. And we need to bring on board the PPPs to see how we can be able to have the private sectors and investors contributing towards this.
Okay, so where do you see this going? I mean, there's work that's being done currently. There is the hope. There is an ambition. There's also, and you talk about recognition, and that's interesting that we talk about recognition by someone else on the plight of the individuals. But it takes me back to our proverb that even the person who is in that situation, do they recognize that there is a need for them to then be able to do something else? So how far are we working with individuals, or even making them aware that you could be in a different space, economically, socially, with the recognition for yourself that I could be doing something different?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot of advocacy. It's a lot of advocacy. Like I said earlier, letting the women know that, you know what, I can distribute this responsibility. Somebody else can bear the burden. And letting the men know, oh, you know what, I can also take a bit of that burden. Letting the government to know that we can invest in infrastructure, bringing in development partners who can cushion private sector who are providing the services in making sure that they can be able to provide quality service at an affordable price. But most importantly, when you free these women, when you reduce their time, can we also train them? What more can they do with their life? As well, Mom, what we also do is that we do capacity building to the female traders in the markets. So besides, we've now realized that by us just freeing you, taking a bit of time off your schedule because you're taking care of a child, and for sure you're making more profit, how more can you even have a second stall? So we do capacity building, which is again tailor-made depending on the market. And that way now the women are able to work more, and bringing the men on board as well, understanding even in terms of childcare services, how do you take care of your child better? And overall, the community becomes better. So it's just not, I would say there's no one size fits all. It's really adapting the solutions to at a local level, providing the care, and also doing more. What can you more once you reduce that time? Now that they have more time, can they go do a course, for example? Can they go for vocational training? And that way we achieve women economic empowerment.
Looks encouraging, Mercy.
And maybe just to add, also the issue of research and data to inform our policies. How well do the information and the facts and the data that we have, how well are they informing our policies? And that's when we are able to initiate our advocacy that is more data-driven.
Indeed. Ladies, thank you both for being here. I mean, when we started out, we were not sure that, this is what we talk about. These are the things that are important for us to recognize and to discuss over. Mercy Koini, I beg your pardon, is a program officer at the Gender Equity and Social Inclusion with Forum Civ. Penina Ndegwa, founder and managing director of Wow Mom. Thank you both for being here this morning. These conversations continue.
Thank you for having us.
Good morning at 9 a.m.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.